What's up everybody, I'm Kevin. This is Lawn Care Juggernaut. In today's video we're going to be going over the spring cleanup on a property, or basically the final leaf cleanup on a property. Just getting the leftover leaves and everything that's left as far as sticks and debris and stuff like that. We're not doing any bush trimming on this job, although this property does need some extra maintenance. At this point the client has opted out of that. But before we get started on this one, I make a lot of these videos with tips and tricks and all sorts of good little goodies in there for business, and if you're a homeowner there's a lot of good tips in there for you as well. So if you could go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not. That way you can stay updated on future content. And if you do want to know more about the leaf cleanups, I actually have a playlist dedicated just to cleaning up leaves. So let's go ahead and actually get into this. Okay, on this particular lawn we didn't have to blow anything out of the beds. It's all vines and stuff like that anyways, so there's not really much there. And then we're using our Ferris on the front yard just to shoot everything to the street, because we actually have a vacuum system. But even if you're like a homeowner or a smaller lawn care company, if you can either shoot it to a pile using a mower, because I kind of look at the mower like a big rake, right? If you can just shoot it to a pile or get it to the street, you can clean it up real easy. And one of the advantages to kicking it all to the street is that it's on that concrete, that hard surface, so when you use a blower to blow it into a pile, you're not going to have any resistance like you would in the grass. The other perk to using the lawnmower in the yard is that it's actually going to suck everything up and out of the grass. So that's a really nice way of doing it. As we get in this, you can kind of see this is a pretty small yard for a 61-inch mower, but it cuts really nice. It looks really sharp. We're also cutting Bermuda. So like I said, this is real early in the spring. This was about March 20th, March 25th, somewhere in that range. And across the street you can see that the grass is really green, and it's just a beautiful color right now. So we've got a lot of weeds, we've got some of the fescues growing. We are in the transition zone, so we don't get a lot of fescue, but we do have a lot of cool season weeds. And as far as like a preference on what type of lawns I like a mix between Bermuda, because it keeps me really busy in the summer, and then cool season weeds, just trash yards or filler lawns. You don't get a whole lot of extras off those type of lawns, but you do get the early spring cuts. Compared to this Bermuda yard, we came in, we're getting it cleaned up, but we're not going to see this until about April 15th. That's when Bermuda really starts kicking in around here. So at this point, James is blowing it all off the turf, whatever's left, and then going around the truck, and he's shooting it all into that centralized location. Like I said, if you don't have a vacuum, you could just shoot it all right there in a pile, and then you can go through and you can rake it up either onto a tarp or you can rake it into a trash can. It doesn't really matter, as long as you're either hauling it away or, you know, maybe they want it mulched, so you can shred it. What I mean by mulch is actually shredding it. And then at that point, I actually have some clients that like me to put it back into their flower beds. You can also mulch it into the lawn if you do a lot of passes back and forth, or you have a discharge chute. You can mulch it into the grass itself, and it doesn't look bad as long as the grass is tall enough. Sometimes the ground's bare, and when you mulch, it just looks like shredded up leaves. So this vacuum is a DIY vacuum. If you haven't seen my other videos, our hose fell out there, so he's having an issue with that hose. We've been using it all year, and it's kind of starting to get worn and getting a little flimsy. So he's holding it up while I finish vacuuming the rest of the debris. But that vacuum is actually a cyclone rake, which is a homeowner or consumer grade vacuum that would go onto a small lawn trailer that you would pull around with a riding tractor, and the riding tractor would discharge it into that vacuum, and the vacuum would shoot it into the back of the trailer, and then you could dump it on a property. So it's basically for homeowners that have a big property. And it came with a resin impeller, like a real soft, I don't want to say it was real soft, but it was pretty pliable type rubber. You could definitely move it if you wanted to, and that lasted about 3 or 4 days with me. And it had some wear, there were some cracks in it. I didn't expect it to last long. And then at that point I was like, well, do I buy a new impeller from the company? It was like a couple $100, and if you buy the impeller, I think you got to buy a new housing as well, which is another couple $100. So you're spending $500 or $600 just to replace this impeller. And I was like, well, maybe I could look up a metal one. And if you look up like billy goat impalers or something like that for these leaf loader vacuums, sometimes they're, you know, from what I saw on like eBay, the impalers themselves were going for like $1,000 or more, which is insanity to me because it's just a little bit of metal. But you know, I mean, I guess supply and demand, and there's probably only a few manufacturers making them. I'm sure there's a lot that goes into it as far as balancing and everything. I don't really know, but I know that price was more than what I was willing to pay. And I actually had a parking lot blower. It was I think it was a Little Giant. I'm not sure what the brand was, but I had a parking lot blower. Actually, I bought one this year that I used in a video. We didn't use it a whole lot. I just bought it, tested it out. It actually works really good for blowing leaves across the lawn. You walk with it, and but I bought one of those that didn't have an engine or anything several years ago before I got this one, and it had a metal impaler blade that I took off and put onto that engine. It had a 6.5 horsepower engine originally, and I blew that engine probably 2 years into it after I sucked up a baseball, and I think it bent the crankshaft. It started smoking a lot. It didn't last very long after that. After that, I put I think it's like a 13 horsepower iron ton from Northern Tools. It's a cheap engine. I think it cost me $200 or $300, and I put that on there, and that thing has some power. It doesn't really bog down. It'll suck just about anything through as long as the sticks aren't closing up and covering the tube. So that's a good way of DIYing a leaf loader, because if you're in the industry, it's very helpful. It'll keep you from dragging a lot of tarps. Ideally, you want to get your setup to a point where it's saving your body. Now this here, I'm just blowing all the leaves in the backyard. You can already see that I mowed it. I mowed it with the 36, our X-Mark, and shot it all down here. So it's not like a super high polished. I just mowed the yard so that everything would blow over real quick, and then I blew the stuff that was on the back patio and what was in the yard into this area. James is going to pick it up. But yeah, like I said, we're not doing any extras as far as the flower bed on this one. It's in and out, and we're not charging any more than we normally would for mowing. So this is a $50 yard, and this is a $50 cleanup. We normally get a lot more for our cleanups. So this is kind of a way for our clients to have an economical cleanup. Normally in a situation like this where I don't change the price, I would just blow them into the yard, mulch them, and not do anything else with it. I don't know. Today I felt like cleaning them all up. So, you know, I mean, it just kind of depends on how you feel. For me, if I'm giving my client a price break to where I'm not going to charge them extra, then I'm not going to do a bunch of extra work. And the thing is, at this point, if they've been there all year, then you can come in, you can mow, and they'll be gone pretty quick. So we're kind of wrapping up on this video, coming to the end of it. But before we get off, I want to point to this weed eater back here. It's still sitting there. We are giving that away, and I'm going to put a link in the description. And if you go to that video and you comment on there, you're going to be entered to win that weed eater. I'm going to go live on Facebook, and that way you can actually see it. We're going to do the giveaway, and it's somebody on there that comments is going to win. There's not a whole lot of comments, so you have pretty good odds of winning a weed eater. Get on there and make a comment. The other thing is, if you see the shirts back there, if you send me a shirt to the P.O. box there, I will put it up on the wall, and you can be a part of the channel. If you send me 2 of them, I'll wear it while I'm out working, and I'll put it in the channel twice. All that said, man, I appreciate you guys watching. For the word of the day, let's do Shadoogan. Spell it how you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.